Welcome back to Rock Your Best Vocals. Jim here, professional singer for over 30 years, professional vocal coach for over 20 years. What I'm about to share is something that I've experienced that's helped my singing, so that's why I'm sharing it with you. If you've ever felt like you're singing and you're trying to sing louder and you just feel like you just can't be heard, even over the microphone, like the microphone's turned up and everything, you just feel like you can't be heard. That is a very frustrating thing. I know for myself, you feel like, God, turn me up at the monitors or turn me, you're just like going, I can't sing any louder. One time when I was having some difficulty with my voice after COVID, one of my bandmates, looked over and yelled at me. She said, sing up, like louder, right? I was like, I can't. I was like, So I didn't know then what I'm about to share with you now. What is more important than volume is resonance. When that's great for me to say that, but Jim, how do we get resonance? Well, you've probably heard of this thing called twang. Twang is what they use in Broadway a lot because that gives them this brighter sound and it gives this resonance. Now, they also use this in classical music and they call that squillo, and squillo is Italian for ring, because what that does is it sets your voice at a particular resonance that cuts over and through the orchestra out to the full auditorium. So again, Jim, how do we do this, right? So the main thing is what we're using here is the constrictors here. So you've heard of twang. People are like, oh, twang, ah, okay, but they go like, well, how do you get twang? So people will say, smile into it. You don't necessarily have to smile into it. That may help some people, but what I've found is like a wide face is not particularly helpful for me, but a sort of a tall shape of a face, tall mouth, like tall, high, soft palate, big pharyngeal space in the back. Try to keep it like the low larynx is helpful, but it doesn't have to be low and stay low, but also the wide open throat. So what I would suggest is we try to do this exercise together. You do this with me and try to kind of match what, the sound I'm producing as far as the ring that's in it. And the more you work with this and work with this a lot on your own after this, you come back and, listen to this several times to try and get the tone, and you'll find that you won't have to push as hard. You won't have to strain and try to really push volume because your resonance will cut through. Okay, so let's do this together. First, we're going to take a nice deep breath in, like kind of like a gasping breath or like a cold plunge or something like that. And then we want just to feel that open throat. And then we listen for this. You want that. You hear the brightness that's in that. It can help to take a sort of a yawn position and feel your larynx and feel this if it moves forward. You can feel that when your larynx moves forward, it stretches the vocal folds. And I've talked about this before on the channel, but this is so important. It will stretch your vocal folds like this if you feel that your larynx is doing this tilt, right? A lot of people talk about this, the laryngeal tilt. So if you feel this and you try to make it go even more, sometimes I find like with a really, really deep yawn, deep inhale, deep gasp.
Twang, that's the twang they're talking about. There's no business like show business.
That's the twang, but you go, okay, well, that's not a very pleasant sound to listen to, of course. So that's where we can darken it up and have more of a deep sound. You hear that still in there. You might feel like this kind of constriction here. It's kind of like when you go to the doctor and I don't know if they do this anymore. It's been ages since doctors asked me to do this, but they stick the little tongue depressor and say ah. Say stick that in there. You go ah ah ah. The key thing there is to not have a closed down sound. It's really important to kind of hear the breath movement. Ah. It can be helpful to start with a little bit of breath first. Ah ah ah. And the classical realm, those kind of teachers will talk about this Italian vowels. Eh, ah, ooh, eh, ah, eh, oh, ooh, ah. Like if you go to like or a New Yorker or whatever. Hey, I'm walking over here. Hey, hey, I'm walking over here. So that is the resonance, and you can hear, like you can't hear because there's a thing on here that kind of keeps the sound all relatively to the same level, unless you're going, geez, it's not working. But in here, I can really hear the resonance. It's like the guitars on the wall will start to ring when I hear that sound. Ah! And I can hear them ring if I'm in the key of the guitars. But anyway, so that's work with that sound. Come back and listen for that. Keep practicing along with this. If you have to rewind and go back and watch it a million times, whatever. But just to get that sound, you want that bright, buzzy sound of the vocal folds. Ah, and you can kind of lean into that with that constriction. Oh. When you lean into that, and you can hear you can't hear, I can hear the guitars, but that is where the resonance will save you every time. Over pushing and shoving and try to that kind of like, upward kind of that, or downward. A lot of people talk about this kind of down. Like that's, I'm just putting all this tension up in here. And that's kind of like the yelling approach that we want to avoid. We want the resonance. You want resonance, not volume. Your volume comes from resonance, not from being louder. So anyway, I hope that's helped you, and let me know in the comments below. You can join me on Patreon or become a member of the channel. I'd really appreciate that, and I'll see you on the next one. Rock your best vocals where your best keeps getting better. Thanks for watching.